All right, guys, for this Trek into the DIY Tech, we're going to look at the camera system for the Submersible. We're trying to get this guy ready to go so we can get some good underwater footage. But this is the thing. Our GoPro died on us. This thing was originally connected directly via this cable, so I could get the video back. Video would come back on this FPV monitor, and the FPV monitor, so you guys will recognize this. If you've seen the other videos, you'll recognize the controls. So the FPV monitor would just sit in here like so, and the input here would allow us to see directly what was on the camera. We couldn't control the camera, so we'd have to set the record before we dropped it into the water, and all we could do is watch and see what was going on through the monitor. So now we're going to take advantage of the fact that this camera has died on us. One of the other advantages that we had with this cable, obviously, if we were able to send power down to the camera, we could keep the camera going, forever. Found out that that's not as useful as it sounds, because these days the cameras last long enough for you to get enough footage. We don't really need to keep the camera, or power the camera via that cable for that distance. So we've picked up a couple of these Jolanson cameras. Again, this is not advertising for either GoPro or Jolanson. This is just the stuff that we use. We bought these ourselves with our limited budget, and so I'm just showing you what we use, and again, not an advertisement for these guys. But these have Wi-Fi on them, and I have the app set up on a phone. So we're gonna substitute the monitor for a mobile device, and then we're gonna create a. Let me see if that fits. No, it doesn't. So we're gonna have to create another mount for the phone, or make an adapter so we can use the cell phone mounts in there. But what we're gonna try to do is we're gonna try to set up this camera in the Submersible in such a way that we can get. You guys know, Wi-Fi signals do not penetrate the surface of the water very well. Okay, how bad that is, don't know yet. So we're gonna do that experiment first. So we're gonna set up, and we're not gonna use expensive, signal measuring devices. We're not gonna have a monitor set up. We're just gonna set this up with the camera, and we're gonna lower it into the water, see how far we can get before the signal degrades, right? Because we could use all of that measuring equipment, signal level. We can use all of that equipment, but at the end of the day, what we want to know is, can we use this mobile device to look at the signal or look at the video from here, as well as control it, start, stop, change the settings on it, using the Wi-Fi underneath the waves. So first we're gonna do the test, right, and see how far we can get. And then I have an idea using these small antennae. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist. So we're gonna use the patch antenna. We're gonna use a patch antenna, or use some long wires, and we're gonna see if we could get the signal to propagate, be picked up on one end by the mobile device, and then go down the wire. Obviously a very much longer wire than this. We're going to use this spool and see if the camera can pick it up on the other end. No, we're not doing the math for any of that. We're just gonna do what we normally do, and mess around with it and see if we can get it to work. So here we go. All right, guys, this is the setup. We're keeping it simple. We're in the shade of the solar panel here, so that we have at least a chance of seeing what's on that screen. So what we're going to do is we're gonna take the camera out of this case. We're gonna connect it. We'll see what the latency is, and then we're going to throw it back in the case, see if there's any change in latency, and then we're gonna dunk this whole assembly in the water and see how deep we go before latency starts changing. And the last part obviously is going to be the cable setup. But anyway, let me take this out of the case. Okay, so I've got the camera out. I'm moving it around. You can see it's pretty low latency there. I'm gonna stick it in the case and see if there's any change. And no, it doesn't appear to have been affected visibly at all. So now we're gonna go in the water. I'm gonna grab a stick here so that we can have a target to move in front of the camera. But here we go. See how deep it can go before it starts losing. So there it is, going in the water, and wow, it didn't have to go very deep at all. So as I'm waving the stick in front, we've got pretty low latency, and we're going underwater, and boom, right there. That's just a ½ inch underwater. Let's go down to the bottom and see if we completely lose the connection. So this is the thing. So I know this is a real cheap camera, but let's bring it back up to the surface, see what happens. And boom, there you go. It's connected back up. So yeah, at about, wow, let's see, is it the back that's doing that? If we leave the back out of the water, yeah, it looks like the antenna closer to the back. Wow, so check it out. Okay, so now we know roundabouts where to put the antenna. So we're down about 6 inches into the water, and that's around about where we start losing it. Let me see if we point it up. If we point it up, and almost the same thing. So the antenna on the camera must be near the back. All right, so let's do it sideways. No, on the lens side, it's really bad on the lens side, so it must be on the button side. Let's see. Yeah, okay, so I'm surmising that the antenna is on the back close to the button side. So all right, so there you have it. So yeah, it's hot out here. You can see the sun reflecting off my forehead. All right, so we're gonna go inside and wire up those antennas. We'll leave the setup out here as it is, so that we'll be doing the same thing, but we'll have the two antennas wired, end to end on the wire, and we'll see if that makes any difference in how we're picking up the signal. So the idea is to get the signal as close to the camera underwater as possible. We'll see. All right, guys, we're just going to narrate this part since it was pretty hot in the lab, and we had the AC fans, everything going on, so audio was kind of hard to do in there at that time. So at this point, I'm putting on some Kapton tape, and that's just some polyamide, and it has high temperature adhesive on it, so it doesn't come off when you're soldering and desoldering and all of that stuff. So I'm just gonna put that down so that my cutting mat doesn't get destroyed by the heat from the soldering iron. And then I'm just gonna tape these antennas down. Yeah, I always fold over the end so I can pick it up later. And it makes it easier to peel back off, so I just fold it over on the end so I can have a tab to use to peel it back up.
So I could just get these corners down here. And if you get bored with this one, just fast forward to the next timestamp. I know some of you like to see the whole process, so I'm just leaving this one as is. So here we're using some flux core solder. So just gonna tin the tip of the soldering iron so it has better heat transfer. And we're gonna move the center lead of that. This is coax wire, so it does have a shield on it. We're just gonna pull back the center conductor there. Just give it a little gap so that it's no longer connected. And with those ends free, so now those ends are free, I'm just gonna go ahead and heat up the shield side of it. And we'll pull that straight off. So I'm using the lowest heat setting that I can so that I don't damage the antennas. So the adhesive, there's still adhesive holding all the layers of the antenna together, so I don't want to damage that. I just turn the soldering iron to the lowest heating I could, lowest setting I could use to melt that solder. Now we're going to just use some solder wick here to clean that up a little bit. And some of that old solder off. Yeah, we don't have to be too careful. This is it's not a critical component, so. And we'll get that second one. I did linger a little bit too long on this one, and the solder mask started coming up a little bit, so you just want to be careful with that. Not that you're going to replicate this whole experiment, but if you were. So here's the short length of cable that we're going to use to test first. So initially we're just going to test with the short length of cable, just long enough to get down into the bucket, far enough to verify whether this is going to work or not. I just score it, and then I cut through. So I do this so I don't cut through the second bit of insulation. I'm just cutting through the outside sheath there. So I just score it, and then I just bend it over my finger to stretch that insulation, and it kind of almost cuts through by itself. So you can see there, I just rest the blade on there, and it just unzips. And so we're going to measure now to make sure. So we're going to use one. We're not going to use the shield here because this cable doesn't have a shield, but we're going to connect two back planes of these antennas. I'm sure somebody will correct it in the comments, but we're going to call it back plane for now since it's ground, or would be ground on your electrical circuit. Kind of keep it simple. Alright, so mark that. Cut that one to size. And then we're just going to strip back. So once I have these stripped, I'm gonna you'll see me twist the ends of these so we can get keep the strands together. So that when we apply solder to it, the strands will kind of want to stick together. All right. Gotta got some helping hands here, so might as well use them. So we're gonna use the flux core solder again to that way we don't have to apply any flux to these. This is no clean. We're still gonna clean the solder joints when we're done, but using this no clean makes it a little bit easier. We just use some isopropyl on it. And so, yeah, we're gonna do the black wire first. Apply some new solder. So you can see off camera I tend to tip a little bit to make it easier to do the heat transfer here. Just there you go. And so normally I would use the tweezers here, but heating up that insulation kind of allows it to deform if I'm putting the pressure of the tweezers on it. So I kind of just bent the leads so I could push them into the solder. And we do the same thing with number 2. Now you gotta be careful when you keep heating and reheating the solder joint, because you can make the solder burn off the flux and everything. You can just burn the joint if you keep that going too long. Always try to get that perfect bubble solder joint. And then, like I said before, we're gonna use isopropyl to clean off the joint, just to clean off all that excess flux that may be hanging out there. Some fluxes or rosin can sometimes cause oxidation if you leave it on there, even the no clean stuff. So usually use isopropyl on everything, clean it all off. Plus, if you have any impurities in there, sometimes you can get some weird stuff in your especially with analog signals and stuff. So we're just going to check to make sure we didn't make any bridges here. Not that this application might not affect this application much because of the way that we're using this, but you know, it's always good practice to do. And there you go. All zeros. And just checking. Yeah. And do a resistance check, all zeros, everything. Such a short run of cable. I didn't do a continuity check between the two ends of the cable. I know it's all good. And see, I tried to do that overkill with the tweezers, huh? Even after I put the tabs on that tape. There we go. Those are the tabs on the tape working for us. There we go. And I'm trying to be careful here not to remove the backing, because these antennas have adhesive, and that backing, we'll use that backing later to attach the antenna somewhere, but so I don't want the backing to come off just yet. And there you go. Looks pretty good. All right. I don't know if, yeah, so the sun has changed we can still see kind of what's going on the screen. Let me see if I can. That's a little better. Okay, good. All right, so we've got one end taped up by the phone. We've got the same setup, more or less. We had to move a little bit because the sun shifted, but you can still see the screen there. Let's move the camera. You can see there you go. You can see there's a little bit of latency there, but we're about to go in the water. Okay, and that's where we lose it. Let's wave the stick in front of it. Yeah, it's done at that point. Let's see if we can get the antenna close to it down here. Oh, wait a minute. Wow. Guys, that's okay. I'm going to pull the antenna out. Boom, it's gone. All right, so I'm still moving the stick. Boom, it's gone. All right, that is okay. So that's crazy. All right, so okay, so I'm covering the antenna up over here. All right, I'm gonna open up. Okay, and we start getting it back. Now, as soon as it hits the water, the camera connects back to it. All right, and then we get the antenna in the water roundabouts where it's supposed to be. Okay, it's not perfect, but guess what? That is enough. That's going to be enough for me to, let me stop moving this thing. Looks like if I move it, let's move it back up to the top. Okay, yeah. All right, so the position on the case does make a difference. Okay, so we're going to have to fix this antenna to keep it from moving in relation to the camera when we have it on the submersible. All right. People, I think that'll do. Look at that. Just having it in the water with the camera is making a difference. All right, so
I think this is going to work. Gives us enough to see what's coming through the camera, start and stop the video, and I think we'll be able to drive that submersible around with it. So let's go put this on a longer cable and see if that 100 to 75 to 100 feet makes a difference. Here we go. All right, we weren't going to make you suffer it through putting these on the same process we did with the other cable. This is closer to what the tether is on the submersible, so there's that. And this is over 100 feet of cable, so we'll see how that is going to work out. I've moved everything. we're following the shadow, people. We're following the shadow. The sun keeps moving as we're doing this, but here we go. The camera is connected. Yeah, you can see it. All right, the camera's connected. Here we go. We're about to drop it in. About to drop it in. And boom. All right, there it goes. Lost signal again. So we're gonna see. Yeah, got the stir stick in there. Nothing is happening. And let's see if we can get something over this 100 miles of cable here. Oh, that might have hit the limit. That might be too much for the signal to push through. Let's see if we can connect it again. Give me a second here. Okay, so here we go, guys. The project's not dead yet. So look what I found. I found the antenna on the phone, apparently. So okay, so there's our
So if I get this in the right spot, yeah, so there's our, okay, so if we put this right on the spot where the antenna is, we can get it to work. So and we're not gonna have nearly the same amount of cable to go through. So I think we can get this to work. All right. So there we go. Okay, that's it. We got it. We're gonna now take that to the next level. We're gonna go ahead and set this up in the submersible and set these up in a, oh, it's still going. Hold on. It might be the position of the antenna behind the camera too. Check it out. Okay. Yeah, it's kind of degrading a little bit, but oh, check it out. Okay. So this is what we're going to do. Yeah, next step is to go ahead and make some brackets.
So wow, that's a cool surprise there. It's, I mean, you can see it's not perfect, but it'll be enough to, if I can create a bracket on this guy to hold the antenna that goes, how am I turning this? Hold the antenna right in the back, or make it movable so we can adjust it to the camera that we have sitting in there on this end. And then on the controller, we set up a situation where we can set up the antenna and move it around there. Maybe some Velcro, a big sheet of hook and loop or something like that. But I'm thinking now that this can work. So that's going to end this video, because the next thing we have to do is we have to work on this guy and get this guy, you know, up and running before we can even attempt to do the camera thing on it. It's going to be a bit of work because this one's been out of the water for a bit. But you can see, I think we got something that'll work. Hey, if you want to see more videos like this or otherwise, let me know in the comments. Like, subscribe, and share. That way, you know, the algorithm has a chance of seeing us and pushing us up. As always, appreciate the time you spent with me. We'll see you in the next video.